to Cooking for Clueless Young Apartment Dwellers. This is installment 2, where we will learn how to make a vegan spaghetti sauce. To make the sauce, we will need 3 cans of organic crushed tomatoes. It's important to get crushed tomatoes. These are big cans, big, see, the big kind. 3 of them. You also need 1 really big onion, like this one. I already cut it in half. There. Well, anyway, I already cut this in half, but a big onion. It can be a red onion or a yellow onion. It doesn't really matter. In Cooking for Clueless Apartment Dwellers number 1, I showed you how to dice an onion. Next, in a Dutch oven, that's called, I put olive oil, extra virgin olive oil. You can see it's really smoking. This is too hot. I'm about to burn down the house, so don't do it this way. I'm going to put the onions in real fast to cool it off. That's not the usual way. I'm stirring those onions, and now at this point I put in a nice handful of a kind of seasoning called Italian seasoning. Can you see that? Kind of basil, rosemary, oregano, marjoram. Okay, I'm going to take about a teaspoon. Put that in there. And now I'm going to cook up these onions with the spices, with the herbs. So what I started with was a hot pan. About 2 tablespoons. Next, when the onions are all nice and translucent, I will put in the cans of crushed tomato. That's starting to look really good. There's 1. There's 2. You have to have a can opener for this project. Like that. I'm turning the heat down. See how it's starting to really splosh all over the place? That's just because I didn't stir it. Heat underneath wanted to escape, so it, bubbled up fast through the other stuff. That's what happened. But anyway, now it's going to calm itself down. I have the heat now on about 3rd can. You'll notice there's always a little bit of stuff left in the bottom of the can. Don't put your hand in there and try to get that out, because this is very sharp and you will get hurt. So what I do is I put a little water in one of those cans, see, and then I swish that around like that. Pour it into one of the other cans, swish that around too, go into the 3rd can, swish that all around and pour that in. It doesn't hurt to have a little extra water. It's all going to cook out anyway. Now my cans are clean, see? And I didn't waste anything. Stir, stir, stir. You may wonder why we haven't put in any salt. Well, that's because I forgot. It doesn't really matter when you put the salt in. Sometimes I put it in the very beginning with the onions. It makes them cook a little faster. This recipe takes quite a bit of salt. It may horrify you to know that we're going to be putting in a tablespoon of salt. Just for you, I'm going to measure. I don't usually measure. I usually just put a handful that I know to be a tablespoon, but this is a tablespoon. It's the capital T. It's the biggest spoon in a set of spoons. 1 tablespoon coming up. A tablespoon is equal to 3 teaspoons. You might notice I filled it a little bit high. That's all right. We need a lot of salt in this. This is a lot of food because this is going to make a lot of servings. Generally, most dishes you make for, servings for 4 or 6 or 8, almost everything you make takes about a teaspoon of salt. Did you know that? But this, I'm making a whole slew of sauce that we're going to use for many, many servings. So that's why it takes 3 tablespoons. 3 teaspoons, I mean. I'm going to taste it now. Delicious. If you taste it at this point, it tastes a little sharp, a little sour kind of. That's because it hasn't cooked. What it needs to do now is cook for a long, long time. I'm actually talking hours. You just take it, you get it to get up to a little bit of a really low bubble boil, really low. Just a few little bubbles popping through. And then you reduce the heat as low as you can. You're waiting for it to get up to its just simmer. And sometimes you have to do that. You have to do that on a little bit of a higher temperature. See, this is about on a little past medium. But keep stirring it, because if you were to put this on high right now and then walk away, you'd ruin it, because the bottom would burn, and then the whole thing would taste burnt, and it would be a big mess. So you have to stir it. Still have it on medium heat while it's getting up to the simmer, which you saw that it is, because it's moving on its own. I should point out here that this spoon is very handy. Also purchased in Chinatown. Might be made out of bamboo, but yeah, it is. Big flat wooden spoon. See, it's not a spoon really, it's flat. I love this thing. Works very, very well. You also might notice that my pot is missing a handle. One handle, no handle. That's just because it is. I got it at a thrift store. It's a Revereware pot, has a copper bottom. I'll try to show you. See that? I know it looks dirty. That's just because I'm a cook. That's copper on the bottom. Copper is good. So when you're at a thrift store and you find a pot with copper on the bottom, you should buy it. It means it's thicker. Things are less likely to burn on the bottom. Okay, this is totally simmering. Now we're turning down the heat to... notice we got a little splatter on there, but that's alright. We're turning the heat down to low. Low. Some stoves will say simmer. It's going to sit on the stove like this, simmering for a long, long, long time. At least 40 minutes. The longer you cook it, the sweeter and better it gets. But it tastes pretty good. It actually would taste okay right now. But the real true sauce is cooked a long, long time. And the flavors get blended and luscious. Anyway, that's all there is to it. You now know how to make a vegetarian spaghetti sauce. You can use this in anything. You can use it on pasta, of course. Make lasagna with it. I don't know, all sorts of stuff. Italian stuff. Store it in the refrigerator. It keeps for a long, long time. This is the end of Cooking for Clueless Apartment Dwellers, Chapter 2. How to make spaghetti sauce. Okay, this is Liz. She's going to tell you what a good cook I am.
I think Rebecca is an excellent cook.